Was it true you were axed from SAS Who Dares Wins?
Yes, I was axed. And when I got the message, I just smiled. You got exactly what you wished for. I went over to Costa Rica, an Ayahuasca retreat.
Oh, you went down that road?
Yeah.
Right, let's go there right now.
Next thing, I was like closing my eyes and drifting off and going places in my mind. You know, it's almost like you've got different doorways to go down. And the doorway opened and all of a sudden found myself as the 10-year-old boy.
Is it true you had boozy parties in Saddam Hussein's villa?
Absolutely, yeah.
Did you ever have a drink with Saddam Hussein?
No, but we did his prostitutes. I just know the way the world works. I just wonder what's going on behind the scenes. Everything out there that's fed to us is intended to be a distraction.
What do you think is going on behind the scenes?
Opening the door for China. Our convoy got attacked. It was when the vehicle was sat behind us, right on the bumper, that then the AK-47s came out and bullets started flying, the crescendo from hell. We trapped him, and it was in that moment that I picked up the MP5 Kurtz and shot through my closed window at 140 k's an hour.
You took them all out then?
We went straight to our objective, bust open the door, it hit us. Bang! The smell of ganja.
Really? Before we dive in, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Ollie, thanks for being here. Well, thanks for letting us be here.
Thank you for being here.
We're in Ollie's HQ, or Breakpoint HQ.
Yeah.
We met, what, 3 years ago, would you say?
I was going to ask you the same question.
Kieran, do you remember?
That's when your first book came up.
Yeah, no, so it was Breakpoint. Yeah, so that was what, 2018?
Yeah, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot's changed since then. Yeah.
So can you.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, a lot has changed. A lot has changed. So, kind of unpredictable changes but yeah, we'll talk about that today because, you know, it's so interesting because you can have the greatest plans in the world, you can have the goals, you can set this, but, you know, you've got to be prepared to be dynamic with that because, you know, if you expect the environment to change for you and adapt for you, you're going to be waiting a hell of a long time. You've got to be prepared to adapt to whatever's thrown at you.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I think a lot of people can relate to that. It's the same with trauma as well, Rob. You know, I think we talked about this before where, you know, a lot of the problem with people with trauma and mental health problems, et cetera, or an event that's really had some massive influence on their life is the fact that they're trying to be who they were before the event.
Right. Yeah.
You're not that person anymore.
Wow.
And it's the same with your business, isn't it? You know, your business has changed if you've allowed it to change. You know, and like we talked about before, you know, at the moment in business, people moaning about, they haven't created the revenues they expected, they haven't, you know, done as well as they thought. Survival is success at the moment. You know, so if you're still around, if you're still there as a business, you're a success. And you should appreciate that.
Yeah, 100%. I've never really thought the way you just worded it about how the world has changed, the environment has changed, therefore you're not the same person, or you're not the same business. And we were talking about sort of the great pivot to online. Yeah. And I know you're making some big changes in your business, and we had a good 2020 and a survival 2021, though we've still got a lot of time left. But do you want to talk about how you're pivoting your business Breakpoint? I know that's something you're keen to talk about.
Yeah, and this is really, you know, all those years ago, when I came back to the UK, I had nothing, didn't know about the TV program. You know, I had one vision, one focus, that was Breakpoint. Mission statement to create a globally identified brand recognized for the positive growth and development of others. Okay. It almost seems to be through circumstances that we're going back to exactly that mission statement. You know, that's been underpinned throughout everything we've done. And I don't know if it's really, maybe because of my age, we did things a little bit differently, you know, some time back, a few years back, but I feel that we're almost, for me, coming into business, creating a business, I want to create that. That mission statement for me meant I need to build a massive footprint. I need to have an office. I need to have loads of staff.
You clearly need to have a gym in your office.
You have to have a gym in your office, which I still stand by. Yeah. You do need a gym, or you need to create your office around your gym. Yeah. But you know, it was all about, you know, that's the sort of direction that I thought you need to, creating an empire you need to have loads of things. You need to have the buildings and essentially what this period in my life has done, you know, with the lockdowns, et cetera, is the fact that you don't. Yeah. You know, but the thing is, you know, I pumped 150 grand into building this place, you know, and I'm more than happy to like go, let's wipe the slate clean, get rid of, downsize. I said this year, right, this year is all about, I'm going to downsize to capitalize.
Yeah.
So really, you know, and this office and this we've got a training facility downstairs, we've got classrooms, etc., has not been used, you know, but what has been used, we've turned it into a studio, we've adapted it, and everything's been online, you know, which I think in some respects is good. You know, I do always say that you can never beat that face-to-face interaction. You will never beat that. You can never replace that. But there's so much that can be done through, you can reach a bigger audience far and wide with an online offering. And then supported by the face-to-face stuff. Yeah. Whereas we were the other way around. We were the face-to-face business supported by sort of the online, you know, initial talks, etc. So really, for me, it's about the fact that you've got to be prepared to be dynamic. If I just said, right, no, I've invested so much money in this, and you know, I was so attached to that investment, then I'm being driven down a train track. You know, not adapting to I'm waiting for the outside world to adapt to me. So really, you know, the decision has been made that we are going to downsize to capitalize and really get to a bigger audience by reaching our audience online through our online training programs, through the talks I've been doing anyway for the corporates. Yeah. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Exciting times.
Yeah.
So everyone watching on the live, this is Ollie Ollerton. And he was previously on SAS Who Dares Wins. We might talk about that. That might be question one.
Can we?
Yeah, can we? Author of Battle Ready, Breaking Point, Scar Tissue. Which one's the most current, Ollie, just quickly before?
Well, listen, the Scar Tissue is my first step into fiction.
And that's your latest release?
That is the latest release, yeah. And the sequel to that is out in November. It's called All or Nothing. So, yeah, really exciting. But although it's a fiction book, initially I didn't want to do fiction because I'm like so driven to like get the word out there and help, from my experience, to help others, which is what we should all do. And fiction for me was like, why would I do that? You know, it's detracting from my sort of my focus. Yeah. But it's not. Storytelling is such an awesome vehicle to get the message to people. And some people prefer that in a story than, you know, an actual book saying X, Y, Z, you know, self-development books. Some people don't enjoy that. So the fact of having a fiction book, which really does sort of have the heartbeat of my life anyway, but has really got that positive message. So yeah, I'm excited about Scar Tissue. All or Nothing's the next one. It's part of a three book deal. So there'll be another one after that one. But I do, you know what? I've got a passion at the moment, and I think it's such a needed for that market is to do a book similar to Battle Ready, self-development for kids. Yeah. That is where I'm pushing at the moment, to really get to the source and really start helping kids as they grow up. Yeah. So, which I think would help on the opposite end. You know,
for sure.
So, you know, that's the focus now, to do another book.
Great. So
wasn't an easy answer, was it? This never is it?
It doesn't matter. We haven't yet got to question one, but normally the most fun we have is when we're not really on script. But I do want to ask, because the reason I want to ask is because I want to hear it from you, because you read stuff all the time and yada yada, and I'm always a believer you hear it from the source. So was it true you were axed from SAS Who Dares Wins? Was it true it was for diversity reasons? And if so, what did you feel about that?
Well, listen, the answer to your question, yes, I was axed. Secondly, I was told it was for diversity. You know, that was the explanation given to the press from Channel 4. And it's clear, I mean, no disrespect to the new guy that's in there, but it clearly looks like that has happened. So, that has happened. And listen, I go back to that moment. You know what? It was downstairs. I can remember the very day, because I knew something wasn't right. And I got that phone call, because we knew that all four of us were told that we're going to have a phone call that day.
Right.
Or definitely me, Billy, and Foxy. And I didn't know what it was about, but for some reason I had it in the back of my head. I just knew it. But And when I got the message, it's like, Ollie, Channel 4 have decided X, Y, Z, I just smiled. I literally just smiled. And I said in my head, as I wasn't even listening to the words, I laughed at myself and went, you got what you wished for. You got exactly what you wished for. And I'm a big...
You did or they
I
did? Yeah.
I did.
What did you wish for?
But the thing is, it wasn't a case of wishing. Like, you can't fool the universe. You can't fool your underlying drive. It's like a relationship, right? There's so many people out there in messed up relationships that mean nothing at all to them whatsoever. That could be a relationship with work, but I'm referring more to the fact of a relationship with a person. Yeah. Using that as an analogy, but basically it's like a relationship. Although you think, oh, well, I'll just keep it going because there might be kids involved. There might, I'll just keep it going anyway because it's a lot easier than pulling the pin and having that short-term discomfort. Yeah. People will just happily accept the discomfort. That's the way that we're wired. That's everything I actually talk about. That is Breakpoint. Yeah. So for me, when I looked at that, I wasn't happy in my mind. I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy doing that show. I used to go away, and it almost, for me, it was like, I was going away and I felt like it was dead time. I was going away, I was away filming up in Scotland for 6 weeks or whatever it was, or wherever we were. And not always, from the start, at the start it was an amazing opportunity, always has been. I'll always appreciate that, be humble. But when it got to that point and I was away, I was like thinking my business is suffering. My focus has never been to be a celebrity. I still struggle with that.
Why do you struggle with that?
Well, I just don't like I don't like the fact that I'm referred to as a celebrity, because I know I am, and that's fair enough. But me personally, whether you call me what you want, I'm sure I've got a few names, but for me, there's a lot more depth. I use the TV as a stepping stone for this. Yeah. I use the TV as a stepping stone for to create exposure, and it's been brilliant for that. Absolutely. So I do appreciate that. But the thing is, my soul was not aligned to that opportunity anymore.
Why not?
Because my heart wasn't in it. Yeah. I was doing it because it gave me the exposure. I look at it now and I think I'd have never gone to them and said, look, I've had enough. I'm gonna walk out. I just don't think, it would have taken a lot for me to do that. Yeah. And that's the problem, isn't it? We're quite happy when there's a golden egg there. It's paying you half decent money, and it's giving you that exposure. That is a strong call to make. But again, for me, if I did that at some point, that is everything we talk about in Breakpoint. You can't see you can't see how that opportunity is actually holding you back. And that's what it was doing for me. I don't want to be referred to as the bloke from the SAS because it was a part of my life. I'm very proud of it, but it's not the be all and end all. I've done a lot more. Yeah. A lot more. And I don't, for me, I want to be that person that, is aligned to my mission statement. It's about helping other people through my experiences. Don't sit there looking at the benchmarks of my life, which are in the past, and go, look how cool, I did that. It was a great achievement. Yeah. But it's that way, it's ahead of me. I'm looking forward, not looking back. I'm not focused on a benchmark of the past. So for me, it was a natural evolution for me to step aside from that. And then all of a sudden, or it was going on at the same time, the Australian version was kicking off. Right. Now, for me, which has been absolutely brilliant, I love being a part of that because it's a brand new thing. It's a real partnership with the production and us, and we get to invest a lot of our input. But for me, if I could not run a business or run a few businesses, have SAS UK and SAS Australia. No. It just wouldn't work.
So it looked like one made room for the other.
Exactly. And for me, it was definitely a step up the ladder as opposed to down. I just know the way the world works. I just wonder what's going on behind the scenes. Everything out there that's fed to us is intended to be a distraction.
What do you think is going on behind the scenes?
Opening the door for China.
So something you picked up in there I want to talk about, because I've experienced a lot of this in the last couple of years of my life, and that is our tendency as human beings to do something that's not right now, ultimately because we're avoiding the big pain it will cause us if we make that bold or right decision. And you've written about it in your book. But surely we all know in our heart that if we make that right, intuitive, bold decision, yes, you'll pull the pin and you'll get the explosion. But then all of that long-term 10 or 20 year or 50 year worth of pain, like you could easily stay in here for another 5 or 10 years and ride it out, but you know you need to travel the world and build your brand globally. So how can we talk about helping people make harder decisions now so it's easier later, instead of easier decisions now so it's hard later?
I think the bottom line, it's a great question as well, Rob, and it's everything we stand for here, is we were absolutely designed to thrive in struggle. Okay, we thrive in struggle. We need struggle. You know, as soon as we become comfortable with the discomfort of something, we're in the dangerous ground. You've got nothing big enough pulling you through. You get bogged down in the shitty detail. So really, I think first of all, you have to do a few things, because you have to really be honest with yourself where you are right now. Are you happy? If you're not happy, then something definitely needs to be done. And I do believe as well that, 100% that we should be naturally, or we should be evolving constantly, always constantly.
Well, it's our nature, isn't it? I mean,
well, that absolutely.
and if we resist that, how can you resist nature?
Well, that's when people, a lot of people can't understand why they've got mental health issues. They can't understand why they're not satisfied. They can't understand why they're uneasy. And it's because they've got no struggle. So I think really, you've got to understand as well that nothing good comes from, there's always going to be some kind of struggle. There's going to be some kind of fight for you to change direction of where you are. And another thing I'll say, and this kind of one of these phrases or one of these sort of quotes that came to me, and we can talk about that today. This is when I actually went over, because since we met, I went over to Costa Rica to an ayahuasca retreat.
Oh, you went down that road?
Yeah.
Right, let's go there right now. You opened up your third eye, did you, and all that?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Wow.
There was a number of eyes that opened up. But the ayahuasca experience, for me, that fits into that. For some reason, I had this notepad from one of the sessions, and the stuff was just rolling out. There's a lot of it in Battle Ready, actually, but pain screams the loudest when it's dying. And people have got to understand that pain screams the loudest when something's dying, when something you're changing, you're evolving, it's going to scream the loudest. Yeah. And to put that into context, it's like a relationship. You know that relationship's not right, and then you get the courage to pull the pin, it's going to scream the loudest. Yeah. Sometimes literally and physically, isn't it? Your partner's going to, there's going to be that fight, there's going to be that horrendous sort of moment when you decide to actually, sometimes it's amicable, but a lot of the times it's that, that pain screams the loudest when it's dying, when something is about to change, when you're going to change that path, go into new territory, expect there to be noise and bangs and, and discomfort, extreme discomfort. But I think that you can only do that and have the commitment to do that. Again, I talk about relationship because whoever's watching this can relate to a relationship, You've got to know where you're going. You've got 100% got to have clarity on where you're going. That comes into the whole goals thing. Everything I do has always been that goals. Yeah. You've got to know where you're going. And if you don't know where you're going, then you're basically in a repeat cycle of yesterday. You're just doing the same things day in, day out because you've got nothing bigger pulling you through. So really, it takes a bit of time to sit down and really understand what you want out of life. I think, the best advice I'd have for anyone, and I think it starts with this. You can't get anywhere or do anything or achieve anything that really suits who you are beyond the facade unless you control or understand what your ego is all about. If you can't control your ego, you can't recognize it when it's flaring up, you're never going to get anywhere. It's like people build businesses from an ego standpoint. They get the business cards and the website and everything done before they're even operating. So they can say, oh, look, I've got a business, all this, that, and the other, before they even understand what they're going to do to turn over the revenue. Yeah. So really, I think in every facet of our life, if people can't control that ego, they're always going to be playing to build a perception of something they want other people to see. And that is the wrong energy. The energy has to be all about you. And this really goes into one of my reflections on that ayahuasca journey. One of the major things, it was a very...
Can we come to that in one moment?
Yeah.
I love that you brought up ego. So if you had to pick one enemy, what would it be? Ego or complacency? What's the worst enemy out of those two?
Ego for me.
Really?
Well,
Can't ego be a driving force if controlled?
if controlled, but if you haven't got control on it, if you allow me to control it, if I'm allowed to control it, because you don't get rid of it.
Yeah.
It's there for a reason. You know, as long as you can control it, then complacency.
Isn't complacency like death?
It can be in certain situations, can't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Taking things for granted, isn't that? When you take something for granted, bang, you're going to get big time feedback.
Yeah.
Because there was a book called Ego is the Enemy by, and I think it was
remember
Ryan
that.
Holiday.
Yes, that was it.
I just wonder if complacency is more of an enemy. That's a reflection I've been having.
No, I think it is definitely more of an enemy, but as long as you can control that ego. Yeah. So
How do you control your ego then?
you've got to recognise it's an emotion. You know what I mean? You need to be an emotional observer, otherwise you become a victim of your emotions when it comes to fear, aggression, any kind of emotion.
Yeah.
So really, you know,
So
ego,
separating yourself from your emotion, you are not your emotion.
Exactly. I always say, you know, you've got a fast flowing river in front of you, that's your emotions. You have to learn to stand on the bank.
Right, I like that analogy, yeah.
You know what I mean? And that all those emotions going, and then you pick and choose which emotions to align with in that situation. I mean, it's the same for me. Sometimes I walk down the street and sometimes my ego wants to get recognised.
Yeah.
And I know that is so far from who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Yeah. You know, that is not you, it's my ego. And I physically tell myself in my head, stand in the fucking corner, you're not needed in this situation.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just ridiculous. But, you know,
But isn't it also, aren't you allowed to enjoy that moment?
Yeah, you are allowed to enjoy it, but there's a level of it. You know, I think that you controlling it, you know, I think coming across, not because you're forcing it, but being humble is so much, it's about building rapport, isn't it? Because you've got someone whose ego is out of control, then they're just not nice to be around. You know, it's all about, it then feeds into narcissism, doesn't it? But yeah, I think controlling your ego, you know, is just such a, you know, I always say to myself, you know, I'm not ego, I have got an ego. I say to myself, Ollie, what would you buy? What cars would you buy? How would you dress if you were the only person on this planet? Because I tell you now, I probably wouldn't
naked.
Yeah, exactly. I think some people would probably go naked. Anyway, but you know, would I have 6 motorbikes? Would I have, you know, I'd all these possessions. Would I have
Land Rovers.
what car would I drive?
Panerai.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good question.
You know, it's like, and then I think it's a good question to ask yourself. How would you dress? How would you, you know, and everything. I think, you know, we learn this. Goes back into childhood, sort of, you know, the inner child, doesn't it? You know, that's when the ego is formed, about 9 years old, so they say. Yeah. You know, when you start living because you want, you know, I feel it's in line with you trying to build an identity for yourself. Also, the ego is there. You know, a lot of the time I ask myself, what's the fucking point of the ego then? Because it sounds like it's got nothing good to offer. But, you know, the ego, you know...
But driving force can come from ego,
driving
can't it?
force
And wanting to be the best and be competitive.
And that is the purpose.
Yeah.
That is the purpose of ego, and you've got to understand that. But, you know, with everything, you've got to learn that you have got to be in control of it. You know, we're born into this skin as amazing human beings. No one gives us a manual. No one gives us any kind of direction. We're influenced by the people around us. That can be good, that can be bad. You know, we're influenced by the things we see on the TV, the wars, this, that, and the other. You know, that's where the programming all starts. You then go to a programming centre, which is called a school.
Yeah.
You know,
or a deprogramming centre.
Yeah, exactly, a deprogramming centre. You know, where you're being basically deprogrammed for society.
Yeah.
And it's really about learning to understand how we tick, you know, and that's everything I talk about in the books, from Breakpoint to Battle Ready. Who are we? What are we? I always say, you know, a mechanic can't fix a car, he can't fix any kind of engine, get it running to the best of its ability until he understands how it works. You know, when he understands how it works, he can tune it, he can get it performing better than than the standard version.
Yeah.
But if you don't know, you're sort of pacing through life confused. And you don't even know you're confused. It's that confusing. Our convoy got attacked. It was when the vehicle was sat behind us, right on the bumper. that then the AK-47s came out and bullets started flying. The crescendo from hell. We trapped him, and it was in that moment that I picked up the MP5 Kurtz and shot through my closed window at 140 k's an hour.
And on that matrix you've just opened up, let's talk about ayahuasca then. Yeah.
God, yeah.
I'm fascinated about this. I considered it a few years ago. I decided not to do it. Tell us your experience.
Yeah, I mean, for me...
And why did you do it?
Why did I do it? Because I did it for... There was a few reasons. I just know how my life works. And, you know, some people would call coincidences, the way things work in my life. Because I have got my shit together and I feel I am aligned now, I know as soon as I put something out there, it will come to me if it's the right thing. And I can remember I had a former girlfriend when I was living out in Australia. She was a psychologist, thank God, because that saved me a fortune.
Free therapy, that's a good strategy. Yeah.
So she's, you know, I was still in touch with Nat, and she was getting into looking at sort of those type of therapies, ayahuasca, DMT for PTSD.
Oh wow, yeah.
And have an amazing success. And she kept saying, look, you need to have a look at this. So anyway, I kind of, and I was intrigued, very intrigued by that as well. I mean, someone telling me that, you know, we don't use all of the capacity of our brain, et cetera, et cetera. There is so much more, many more depths to it. And ayahuasca is the release for that, was something that compels me massively. I'll have to say that the point I decided to go and take ayahuasca, it wasn't because I knew there was a massive problem, or it wasn't about, because I was in a half decent place. But I still know that you know, I had massive childhood trauma from the chimp attack and all that kind of thing. So it's something I've never dealt with. Something I've never dealt with is the chimp attack. And you know, what we do when it comes to traumatic events, I mean, childhood trauma is the worst trauma, well, some of the worst trauma that's out there, because it's so deep-seated. And what we naturally do as a defense mechanism, we lock that away. You know, that's a survival technique that we're wired to have. We lock that intimate trauma away. That's okay in the first instant because it gets you over that hurdle initially, but you can't keep it locked away. You've got to deal with it at some point. If you don't deal with it, it's gonna, you know, I look back now on that chimp attack is responsible for so much of my life, so many, you know, the destructive parts of my life, you know, probably a lot of good parts as well, but, you know, it had massive influence on my life and I'd never dealt with it. And, you know, I talked about it in Breakpoint when I actually came back, and it was almost, I bumped into a guy that I used to serve with who was over in Afghanistan, and he was trying to get vehicles, couldn't get them, and he ended up bumping into this guy. I think we talked about this on the last podcast. You know, he bumped into this guy that wouldn't give him the vehicles out in Afghanistan, and then he asked if he knew a guy called Ollie Ollerton, and he's like, Ollie's my best mate. So, and he asked this guy, you know, this is some 30 years later, I asked this guy, how do you know Ollie? And he was like, oh, well, he got bit by a chimp when we were kids together. So anyway, that led into a further conversation. They got given all the vehicles because of that situation. But for me, when he came back and told me that, I look back now and I think that was a reminder for me to tell me there was unfinished business. Right. That was the thing for me. I was like, what, you know, because I think it's so important that we do that. When we meet anyone, when I meet you, when I meet yourself, Rob, when I meet anyone down the street, I ask myself straight away, I don't just brush it off, why did I meet that person? I analyse that situation. Why did that situation just happen? Is there anything? Sometimes there's not. Yeah. But is there something to take from that? Because I don't believe in coincidence. There is no such thing as coincidence. Yeah. You know, and some of these things happen in your life, and you brush it off with coincidence. I don't do that anymore. You know, I look at it and why has that happened? And that for me was there's unfinished business. So. When the whole thing, I put it out there, you know, I wanted to look into going to try ayahuasca. All of a sudden on Instagram, a company, an organization called the Heroic Hearts Project, which is a US-based company, got in touch and said, Ollie, do you want to come? Would you be interested in coming on an ayahuasca retreat to Costa Rica? And I was just like, thanks. You know, I'm just in London over the next couple of days from the US, you know, can you meet up? Fortunately, I was in London that 2 days, which is, you know, not a regular occurrence. So all the stars were lining up, so to speak. Met him, and And that was it. You know, I was on my way to Costa Rica with a load of other veterans from all over the world, you know, some with very deep and dark stories.
Yeah.
And, you know, so really for me, I wanted to go out there, experience, I wanted to see what it could do for me, you know, self-improvement, and development. A lot of people only find it because something really bad has happened in their life. So, you know, they've reached rock bottom, which happened for me. And that's when they find it. And the problem I'd made in the past with that, because it's not the first time, you know, there was a monumental, you know, hitting rock bottom, but I'd hit rock bottom before. Then you sort of start to improve, you get to a plateau of feeling okay, and you're like, I don't need that anymore. You stop. And then all of a sudden, it's a roller coaster, you're back into it. Self-improvement, self-development is a constant.
Yeah.
You can't think it's just something, it's not like a fad diet. Oh, I'll just do a bit here, do a bit there when it's needed. You know, you've got to remain constant with it. And if you choose not to, then when you start querying and asking questions why you're having issues further down the track, and that's the reason why. Yeah. Because you're not investing in this. Yeah. You know, regardless of how much you train and in the gym, etc., this is where you need to do the gym work. So anyway, for me going out there, it was about spreading that message. This experience, how can I get that out there to other people that need it? Through me experiencing it, you know, I think it's like everything I do. It's like why I used to do a lot of the stunts on SAS, because I don't want to stand there gobbing off about what people have to do. I'll lead by example and do it. Yeah. And that was very much ayahuasca for me. So we went over there, Costa Rica, an amazing place called Soltara, and we were there for 9 days, and I think there was 4 ceremonies, which was interesting. The first day you do a thing called purging. So that's really about cleansing the system. I think it's not lime. It's it's what's the like bamboo, lemon, lime. Use it in Asian cooking.
I can't even fry an egg, mate.
That's funny. It'll come back to me anyway. But basically, you drink this stuff until you make yourself sick of it. You just keep on drinking and drinking and drinking. It's called purging. And then you bring up everything that's in your stomach. You know, you're supposed to, before you go on to an ayahuasca retreat, you stop having sex for 2 weeks before, at least 2 weeks before.
No way am I doing that.
Yeah, I know, that's turned off about 80% of the market. Oh no, that was hard. But you know, if you drink, you've got to stop drinking. You've got to go in there extremely cleansed before you can actually take that ayahuasca, because you've got to get to get the most from it, and also because of the health. You know, it can be dangerous if you, not the sex bit, but you know, your diet especially. So there's a lot of prep. You go there, then you purge, and then you go into your first ceremony. And I can remember, I mean, at the end of the day, for anyone that doesn't know, it's a hallucinogenic, highly hallucinogenic. And we sat in this big place called a Maloka. You know, we met all the other veterans, and everyone sort of got their own the mats. We did the first one. It's open, so it's right in the jungle. And you're in this Maloka, and you've got the shaman that are in the middle. You go up and you go to the shaman. You actually say, you have to have an intention. You meet the shaman beforehand. They say, what do you want to achieve from this? And I went and said, look, I want to make sure that I don't, because one thing for me, I am scared of the person I used to be.
Who is that person?
Someone that is totally destructive and, you know, and has no compassion or care for anything. You know, and that, when I was drinking heavily and just bouncing all over the world, just creating mayhem, you know, that was the person I don't ever want to be again. So I just want to make sure that is ready. You know, if something, I don't think it was, but I was scrabbling, you know, sort of scratching for something that meant something. And it was like to get away from that self-destruct button. I don't even want to know where it is. So I sort of said, look, I want to make sure that self-destruct button is never there again, and you know, I can never go. And also, I'd like, you know, I think there's some unfinished business with the chimp, and I never thought I'd ever, you know, that was just, well, that's not going to happen, is it?
Yeah.
So anyway, we went into that first session. The first session, they just give you a taster. You know, they want to sort of judge where everyone's at. So for me, I was quite deflated on that first one. I was like, yeah, I felt something, but wasn't quite sure. So the next day they upped the dose. Holy shit. Holy shit. And it, you know, straight away, you know, I was sat bolt upright. You know, you can lie down, but I was sat bolt upright, and I was in very much a similar position to this now. And then all the geometry starts. and just the whole place changes, the noises and everything, and it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. You just, your senses, you become alive. You can hear noises that you couldn't hear, you know, from the jungle. You can hear all the animals, you can hear everything, you can hear every leaf moving. It is just incredible. It's so powerful. And when I look back now, it is comical. You know, initially I wanted to bring the film crew out to do, and I'm so glad I never. Because this is like I was stood there on, you know, I sat there on the mat, and then next thing I was like closing my eyes and drifting off and going places in my mind. You know, it's almost like you've got different doorways to go down, and there was like some things I didn't want to, you know, they were too heavy to deal with. But, you know, a doorway opened, and all of a sudden I found myself as the 10-year-old boy.
Wow.
10-year-old boy in the circus ground with a chimp in front of me. And I was actually I could feel it was so real, it was unbelievable. And I could see the chimp in front of me, the baby chimp. And I thought, oh shit, I could feel how powerful this was. And one thing which is a really hard thing for people like us, especially in the military and for humans in general, is surrender. It's just not a word that we're accustomed to accepting. But one thing with ayahuasca, you have to surrender to it, stop fighting it. You know, when I eventually sort of allowed it just to start flowing, I allowed the scenario to play out in my mind. It was all in my mind, and you know, I thought, oh God, I'm about to get attacked.
Did you know it was in your mind? Did you have a perception that it wasn't real, or was it just like it was real?
It was like it was real. Yeah. It was absolutely like it was real. And even if not, you know, what is the difference?
Yeah.
I just didn't see, you know, the reality, and there was no sort of.
Yeah. Oh, sorry to interrupt you.
No, not at all. Yeah. There was no. It's a good question, but it didn't. It felt. It's like you could not escape from it. You can't escape from it. Once you know, if you try and fight it, it just turns into a very traumatic event. That's how I perceive it anyway. But I became that 10-year-old boy at the circus that day, and I was like thinking, fuck, I'm going back to the, you know, I was like blown away by it. And I can remember looking down at the chimp, and the next thing I heard the roar that I heard at 10 years old. You know, the roar of the animal, the mother of this baby chimp. And straight away I looked in the background in the darkness, and there was the chimp. And I thought, shit, I'm going to get attacked now. You know, this is all happening. I felt every emotion and everything. You know, I could feel the hair on my head. It was just like in that moment. And then suddenly I looked at the chimp, and it was so bizarre. I started looking at the chimp, and the more I looked at the chimp, you're going to laugh at this, I became the chimp.
Right. Wow.
And before I knew it, honestly, I was on my mat in the Maloka, and I'd come off the mat. I was right on the edge, and I stood up like this, and then I'm like that, and I'm going fuck, and I'm trying to fight it, and then I'm saying, don't fight it, just allow it to go, and I'm like, it was crazy. And I was going in my, you know, like sort of your conscience was saying, oh, you're becoming it was bizarre. Before I knew it, I was becoming the chimp, and I looked down at my arms and went, oh my fucking God, this is ridiculous.
We should have had the film crew. That'd have been great.
It was ridiculous. I'm there, and I'm like, and it's before I knew it, I'm in the chimp, and honestly, I could feel where it was that real. I could feel where the chimp had been lying down, lazing in the sunny afternoon. I could feel the leaves dropping off my back, where the leaves and all the stuff from the floor was just dropping off my back, and then all the hairs. I could feel all the hairs all over my body all coming out.
Wow.
And it was just mad. It was almost like this sort of like going into attack mode, you know. But then I looked. It was crazy. I looked through the chimp's eyes, and it was like a cyber chimp. You know, it was almost like, you know, when you see Terminator, it's got all the red readout, and you know, all the. I was looking at me then, and I was stood there as a 10-year-old boy, and it was threat. And it was just, I was going through that whole war, you know, getting ready for war, and I was actually in the Maloka, people told me afterwards, you were there and you were roaring like as the chimp, like mega vocal, yeah. And I was ready to attack me.
Right.
But then that took me, you know, I thought all that was going to happen, and one thing that I was really fighting against out of anything, I was accepting it, but I was fighting against that attack. I wouldn't allow it in. I would not allow it in. So it kind of diverted, that experience diverted a bit, and it started then. I've always gone on about that situation being I'm the victim, and this is what we do, don't we, as humans? I'm the victim, poor me, I was there, and da-da-da-da-da-da. All of a sudden, I was the chimp. I entered the chimp's arena that day. It didn't ask me to turn up. And all of a sudden, I started to feel massive compassion for that animal. I then it took me out of being the victim, which really has helped me massively. It took me out from being the victim and allowed me to be part of the environment as opposed to being the focus of it. And it really helped me understand that this creature was doing what any creature, whether it's human or whatever, is always going to do, protect its young. You know, I was the alien, I was the one that was in the wrong that day. And that whole situation, that whole experience, that first ayahuasca experience was that moment when it was just like compassion. It was all compassion. But that then led me into all aspects of my life, everything, that whole experience. You know, I didn't go into the attack. I managed to fight that off. I didn't want to go there. And that has always been the problem. And that's where I needed to deal with. And then that took me out of that situation. I started then thinking about all the people that I love and the people around me, my wife, and the fact that she's got a little boy. And regardless of the business, and I put a lot of pressure on her in the past, regardless of the business, regardless of everything, regardless of me, William is her number one priority. And I started having so much more compassion for that, you know, where I've probably been a bit complacent and not, you know, kind of brushed that off in the past. You know, I'm always putting pressure, what have you done today, you know. And it really gave me a slap around the face, big time. So that was that first experience. Then we went into a second experience. No, sorry, this was then the third one, the next night. And the one thing that I thought, you know, we talk, you then have, you talk, you have a massive debrief. It goes on for hours with everyone's experiences, which is great. It's great to hear other people's stories. And then that night we went back in. I thought, my work's done with the chimp. I'm still in my head avoiding the trauma. Yeah. I'm avoiding that intimate trauma, which I need to deal with. I don't want to go back there. I don't want to do it. Ayahuasca will go where it's needed, not where you want it. So that night, straight back in, you know, I went saw the shaman, and I said, look, I want to give me a little bit more tonight. And I asked, he said, you've got to say before you take the ayahuasca what you want to achieve, what, you know, and I said, thank you for this drink, blah, blah, blah. And I want to, please, ayahuasca, give me the direction of where I need to go in my life. And again, I'm diverting from where I needed to go. Ayahuasca's like that. Yeah, you take that. I'll show you where you need to go. So anyway, there I am again. I'm like straight back in. Wow. Straight back into the 10-year-old boy. And the thing I'd been steering away from trying to deal with is that intimate attack. And it happened. That intimate attack, yeah. And it was not nice. It was pretty shocking, to be honest, because I went through every emotion. You know, I've looked back on that experience, and that's what our bodies learn to do. That's what our minds learn to do. We close off that intimate trauma. I felt that trauma. You know, it wasn't, you know, that experience when I look back prior to ayahuasca was the fact that I had a fight with a chimp. I just had a fight with a chimp, nothing really. I was in that experience, and I actually went back to what happened. What happened in that moment, I was screaming, I was terrified, I was shouting for my parents, mum and dad, whatever. I was going to die. And I went through that emotion, I went back through that emotion. And I can remember in that moment, I then was fighting and, you know, fighting against this chimp. And then all of a sudden my head said, what would happen if you'd not fought that day? And this will sound quite out there to some people, but this is the power of ayahuasca. In that moment, I stopped fighting. And I lay down and I died in that moment. I can always remember that. I lay down, I can remember opening my eyes, and I saw my wife there, lay next to me, and I stroked her face and said, everything's going to be okay, come with me. And then I went into the afterlife, call it whatever you want, and it was absolute heaven. It was like the noise and everything. I then became spirit and not a physical being, and it was unbelievable. I didn't want to leave there, but I did. I came back out, and then I sort of went back into I had the experience of the attack that I'd gone through, that had finished. And then you start to have this massive reflection. You know, it's reflection about the situation, everything that's just happened. And for me, I was like that. It was, Ollie, stop fighting. And I realised since that experience as a 10-year-old boy, I've been fighting all my life. And I don't mean in wars, I don't mean in the military, I've been fighting. Relationships, authority, everything I've been fighting, and it was stop fighting. You know, it was such a powerful experience for me. There was so much that got resolved. And then, you know, also as part of that reflection over the 2 sessions, those 2 major sessions, like you have, I call it, the first one is getting on board the plane. Yeah. The two in the middle, mid-flight, and then the last one is they bring the plane down to land. And so those 2 sessions for me, massive amount of that was reflection on us as human beings, how much energy, and this is fueled by social media, how much energy we put into being someone we're not. We're building the perception, we put so much energy into that person, the perception of someone that we want everyone else to see that is the something of perfection. Everyone's out there to some degree, some more than others, faking perfection. We become the byproduct of the person we've created. And that is a dangerous place to be. You've got to really pull yourself back from that. The person in the corner crying, that's the real you. You know, but people are quite happy to compromise their own well-being, their own health in some circumstances, extreme circumstances, to make sure the picture looks attractive. You know, we put so much energy, everything into that. And I think that there's a level of that. But you, again, like we talked about ego before, you've got to manage that. You know, there'll always be the same for me, but, you know, throughout my books and everything, I'm as honest as I can be. You know, when I do stuff on Instagram now, you know, I don't do it because I think, oh, what, you know, and this makes me laugh as well. A lot of people, you know, I go outdoors a lot, you know, and there is an element I've had to sort of really control it. We start getting to this sort of modus operandi of how will this look for social media? People are doing stuff for social media because it's creating content as opposed to enjoying it. You know what I mean? People need to really start to create that separation between what's real and what's not. And I think if you get lost in that world and we end up living through our phones, we're not going to be a happy person when we're on our deathbed. People have seen those clips, seen the, you know, about people on their deathbeds wishing they'd have done something different. Don't be that person. You know, and I think we really need to have some kind of mind management program to make sure that we're maximising our potential. I know I detracted a little bit there.
That's all right. That's question 1. I was really in that.
Yeah.
I was really in that experience. So thank you for sharing that. That's amazing.
We went straight to our objective, bust open the door, and it hit us. Bang! Smell of ganja.
Really?
Couple of things that popped out for me. Could you talked a lot about, both in your books and in your ayahuasca experience, essentially overcoming trauma or dealing with events that you've locked away. Could you, on a practical level, without the need for ayahuasca, share how people can deal with their trauma, because you've seen it loads of times in your life?
100%. Another great question, Rob. You've thought about these, haven't you? I'll tell you what, I'm so glad you brought this up, because there's so much stuff out there, social media, Instagram, all this, it's all about positivity. It's all about positivity. They think you can slap a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. You can't. You know what I mean? It's not just all about positivity. Let's break that down a bit, okay? You imagine like some massive traumatic event, probably someone's died, whatever it is. You can't just go, just be positive, mate. Oh, I'm positive now, everything's brilliant. You have to deal with that situation. You have to understand the source of what the issue is, because if you just try and be blasé and be complacent, you are never going to deal with that trauma. In fact, you're going to make it worse. So really, you know, you don't have to go to an ayahuasca retreat. You're right, and I suggest everyone does if they want. You know, if they believe in sort of alternative. I don't know why we call it alternative. I want to address that. It makes me laugh that, you know, pharmaceuticals are natural and natural stuff is alternative. Anyway, but you know, I think when it comes to trauma and things like that, you have to get to the source of what the issue is. It is about doing that and appreciating where you are 100% and being positive when you're in there, and not being blasé and just going, oh, just be positive. That is the biggest and worst advice you can get. So really, get to the source of what the issue is. With everything in life, honestly, you've got to get to the source. Like I talked to you before about, I want to start working with children through a book and through actual experiences. Get to the source of the problem, because if you're dealing on the upper fringes of anything, you're never going to get to the bottom of it. So really, one thing I'd say don't do is just think you can be positive and you're locking stuff away. You're not dealing with it. You're not dealing with it by being positive. Get to the source of what the issue is. Be totally honest with yourself about where you're at. Stop comparing to other people's lives. That's horrendous. When people start comparing, then that creates jealousy. That is the wrong vibration to achieve anything in life. Okay, so it's great to have people that you respect and want to aspire to being similar to, but don't start comparing and then start getting jealous, and then it's the wrong energy. So really, people have got to start appreciating their strengths as well as their weaknesses. The problem is a lot of people are focusing just on their strengths. You've got to start understanding, what are your weaknesses? Write them down. Write down your weaknesses. Write down the situation, how you're suffering, what is the problem. Don't just try and focus on the strength. Start to appreciate the yin and the yang, and then you can get to the source of the problem. Be positive when you're there and look at how that experience has benefited you. It's funny, I look at the chimp experience and I am so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for that experience. I know that sounds bizarre, who would want to be attacked and nearly killed by a chimp, but I'm so grateful that gave me that experience in this life. I'm so.
Well, there's probably a very good chance you wouldn't have done most of what you've done without that experience.
You know what? A lot of people say, do you think, and I think it's a really good question, I haven't got the answer to it, but it's a really interesting concept. Would you have joined the Special Forces or even past Special Forces if you hadn't have been attacked by that chimp? I don't know, but it's a really good question that makes me think a lot, because it's the experiences that shape us. It's the same with resilience, everything. Some people adapt to resilience or hardships in their life better than others, and that's simply because they experiences they've had previously. So really, it's a very intriguing question for me, but I do think that there's a lot of weight in the fact that, and this is the positive I take from that. There's always a positive and negative, whatever the situation. The situations that you're in, you've just got to start. I always do it. You've got to look for that silver lining. But you've got to understand that good things don't just come from good events. You've got to appreciate that the real growth and learning comes from the hardships and the struggle, and you've got to appreciate the good and the bad.
Yeah, I've learned a lot from a chap called Dr. John DeMartini. He's been like a mentor of mine, I suppose, and he told me probably 12 years ago, no single event or occurrence has all upside or all downside. Every single event or occurrence has an equally balanced set of upsides and downsides. And then you think about 9/11, rape, blah, 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 and your brain starts to try and disprove it. And in his book, The Values Factor, he lists 100 benefits of 9/11. Humbling America, the fire service, maybe being more respected, probably a lot of families got closer together through that experience, probably repaired a lot of bad relationships. Lots of children would have come out of that because people would have got, and it just went on and on and on of all these upsides of 9/11. He clearly picked that event on purpose because it's a triggering one. And I bet, not that we're going to, but I bet you if you sat down and did 100 benefits of the chimp attack, you could find them.
100%. Yeah.
And I think that those things you've said about positivity is not the answer, because you're trying to fight the universal law of balance. And not all good events are good situations. If you're going to turn your business into a global business, you've got to break down some things you've built, so there's some destruction there, and then you've got to create a new model where there's order. So you've invested some money, and that investment now has to become a sunk cost. So there's benefits of having this lovely building that you've got in this gym here, and there's downsides. And there's benefits of being free and mobile, and there's downsides. So just to add one point on to yours, to get rid of trauma, I believe, is to dissolve the negativity, or just seeing all the downsides by seeing, well, what gifts did it bring me? Because you're saying you need struggle because it helps you grow, and struggle builds resilience, not juvenility and independence. That doesn't build resilience. So every event that was like Oprah Winfrey was abused, and look at who she is now and what she's doing to the planet in a meaningful way. So I think if we could bottle that message up, I think a lot of people are going to have a better life.
Yeah, 100%. The thing is, people are scared to go subsurface on the situation.
Because it's painful.
Yeah, because it's painful, and because then we have a generalistic view. That was a bad experience. I can't believe that happened to me. What is positive about those comments?
Yeah, no.
Nothing.
No. What about thank you for it happening to me?
Yeah, exactly. But you're not going to do that until you go underwater, go subsurface, and actually go to that problem, deal with the problem, and really get into depths with it. But the more you sit on the surface and aren't prepared to go deep six on it, then
I love all the phrases that come out.
Mate, you can
Subsurface,
tell,
deep six.
yeah, mate, you can tell.
I have no fucking idea what you're talking about.
Special forces operating.
What does deep six mean?
Deep six, like under the surface.
Right. Yeah.
So deep underwater. Deep down to the problem. So, but that's my SBS heritage coming through there. But it makes sense to me. You've got to be prepared to hold your breath and go down and deal with the trauma. And the more you sit on this, what happened to me? Can't believe this happened. All that kind of negative. People have got to really start appreciating the messages we tell ourselves. Even whether it's verbal or not, the messages in here have so powerful. So powerful, and we've got to make sure that we get the language correct. We have people. As soon as someone comes in here and I hear that language, it's like it almost fractures me. I'm like, oh my God, you've got to stop that. We've had people work for us and they're very much like that. And I'm like, mate, you've got to change that. Yeah. Don't bring that into this place, because it's not, it's not adding value to anything, not you and not anyone around you. It's just like, that sort of victim mentality. And we are, there's one that I do find as humans very interesting, because first of all, I think given the opportunity, and this has been proven just with recent events, we can be fucking lazy. Absolutely lazy.
Complacency again, the enemy.
Complacency, exactly. We can be lazy, and we can be extremely negative. It's like, people just aren't doing themselves any favors. But I reckon because of the way the programming, or deprogramming, whatever you want to call it, people do not understand their potential. And if you don't understand your potential, you then cannot understand the power you have to create whatever you want. If you think you're a bloody old 1970s Skoda that can only do 50-mile top end.
We got a car analogy for a change of the military
cars.
one.
We're going to go on cars, motorbikes. If that's what you believe you are, you're never going to think you can achieve anything. You're never going to think you can go 90 miles an hour. But people just don't understand, and we're programmed to not believe our true power. That society could not handle the human race being all creative and productive and sort of big dreamers and high achievers. They couldn't handle it. Society wouldn't work.
It'd be like one big ayahuasca retreat.
Exactly. But it's for society needs to be belt-fed fear and programmed into believing they can't achieve anything. Or they're bound within limits. But fear is such a massive thing. I see it day in, day out. Some people are just walking around in a horrendous state of fear. And rightly so, because the situation is not great at the moment. But the thing is, if you're belt fed again, like the media, if you're buying the newspapers, watching the news all day long, you're that's what it's designed for. And to have us in a state of fear as an individual, that then creates vulnerability. When you're vulnerable, you look for someone to sort of depend on. And that's where the majority of the nation are at. They'll do exactly what anyone says, or that authoritarian, wear a mask, do this, do
jab.
that. You know, if someone said...
Get 2 jabs.
Get 2 jabs, get the booster.
So you can go into this shop.
Yeah,
and if you don't
exactly.
get this jab, you can't travel.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard insurance as well. You won't be able to get car insurance. That's an interesting one.
I better shut my fucking mouth here.
I will get myself into trouble. You're going down a quite compelling path, though.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you know, the thing for me, you know, those programming centres they call schools. People don't leave school. They never leave school. They think they've left school. They never leave school. You know, aside from the education, if you want to call it that, that's being fed to kids there, they are indoctrinating them into the 9-to-5 regime, the authoritarian being the headmaster, the teacher, whatever. People never leave that. They then go into their job. They've got the boss or the government, whatever. They'll do exactly what, you know, they're still in that mindset. I must do this. They're programmed. They're programmed. And, you know, to create something different in life, you know, a big thing for me is stepping outside of that program, stepping outside of the tracks and getting away from the system, you know, and creating your own identity that's not dictated by anyone else, you know. Exactly.
That's Rage Against the Machine. We should put some "fuck you, I won't do what you tell me" music over that.
Absolutely. But that's the thing. You know what? I said to my wife last week, and she's the same. I'm like, no one tells me what to do. I tell me what to do. I'm not having anyone. And you know, some things I listen to and think, look, I'll always analyse it. Does that make sense to me? Yeah, it does. I'll do that. Yeah. But you know, if someone asks you to walk on your belly for the rest of your life, are you not going to ask questions? That's what people are being asked to do. Not literally crawl on your belly, but people are being asked to do that. When people ask me to do something, anything, and this goes back years and years and years, even in the military, I ask why. Why am I doing that? What's the purpose? Tell me what the purpose of that is. Tell myself what the purpose is. Why am I doing it? And if I can't see logic in it, if there's ulterior intelligence, if you want to call it that dictates it doesn't make sense to me, I'm not going to do it. No. I'm not going to do it. I am my own, we are all our own boss.
Unless you're one of the guys that works in my company. I'll have fucking 75 resignation letters going home.
It'd be like, I can't.
Is it true you had boozy parties in Saddam Hussein's villa?
Absolutely, yeah. Massive parties.
Wow. Did you ever have a drink with Saddam Hussein?
No, but we did his prostitutes.
So Ollie, was your new venture with the Australian TV company, was that a 2 fingers to Channel 4?
It was it wasn't the fact, that wasn't the motivation, but yeah.
It was blowing them a kiss.
Yeah, it was a kiss, yeah.
Would you say your military training has transferred into your current ventures?
Some aspects of it, not all. So
what has and what hasn't?
Process. Process is so important. Process beats paralysis. Right. So process is so important. Everything we want to achieve. A, B, C, how do we get there, regardless of what's going on in here.
Love it. Is there anything else you've done that compares to the stress of being a soldier other than a chimp attack?
Yeah, getting married in Vegas. I'm realising that...
Your wife is around, you do know that.
Yeah, no, it's in the book. It's in the book. Yeah. Anything that's in the book is fair play.
Which book is it in?
It's in Breakpoint.
Okay, Breakpoint.
Yeah, so...
Breakpoint for the full story.
Yeah, being in Vegas and then realising it was a big mistake just before you're about to get married was quite stressful.
Wow. Yeah. Is it true you had boozy parties in Saddam Hussein's villa?
Absolutely, yeah. Massive parties. Wow. Yeah.
Did you ever have a drink with Saddam Hussein?
No, but we did his prostitutes.
That's a million view video right there. Thanks, it's been worth the trip.
That's in the book.
Yeah, you can go a bit longer on this if you want. Yeah. What do you think about the recent exit from Afghanistan?
The recent exit from Afghanistan, I think, is shocking, to say the least. You know, I was working last week with someone. I was out on the water, kayaking, racing kayaks. And the guy turned up and they said, oh, John's coming, ex-Royal Marine. He's only got one limb. And I'm like, oh, what, he's canoeing? And they went, yeah. And this guy was out there on the water, bionic arm, thrashing everyone. So you know what? And then straight after that happened, I thought straight at that guy and I thought, I know loads of people like that. And I'm so annoyed that people have gone over there and lost a lot more than limbs. Their lives, You know, they come back here with serious trauma, and they're the people I feel for big time. But on that, I just know the way the world works. I just wonder what's going on behind the scenes. Everything out there that's fed to us is intended to be a distraction.
What do you think is going on behind the scenes?
I don't know, but I'm always looking beyond. Whenever something big like this happens, I'm always looking in my peripheral to see what else is going on.
And if you were to guess, what's the bigger picture?
Are they opening the door for China? Maybe, I don't know. You know, Afghanistan's got the biggest lithium deposits in the whole world. Lithium's quite popular at the moment. So, you know, I just feel the way it was done, you know, you look at the whole thing. I mean, you've only got to see the videos. It's like they were told to leave in 30 minutes. Yeah. You know, cash left, weapons left. I mean, you just go in, you put dems on everything, blow the whole lot and then leave. You know, at least. Yeah. At least. But to leave before, you know, the military's the last thing that leaves. You know, and I just for comfort, you know, on a global scale, that's, as far as I can see, has humiliated the whole effort, humiliated the US. And I think it's just a real shocking state of affairs.
What would you say the general relationship with money is in the military?
Relationship with money, I mean, talking from my own experiences, it's just ridiculous. You know, half of my career was thinking how I could earn some more money to live. You know, which, you know, financially wise, I mean, I never joined because of the financials, clearly. But, you know, financially, it's just ridiculous. When I actually tell people what we used to get paid as Special Forces soldiers, it was, you know, ridiculous. Yeah, but again, if you want to join, you know, if your focus and your passion and your motivation is financial, the military is not for you.
Yeah.
Is that where you were steering with that? Or?
Yeah, we have a lot of, well, I wasn't steering in any way, so I want you to answer the question, but we do have a lot of ex-forces that come and do our courses for property and business.
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount of indoctrination about how you develop your career and then your retirement beyond that. And you have to help them unlearn a lot of the things they've learned to invest and to replace the pension with property.
Yeah. I think I mean, look, always going back to source again, you know, I think what education are you given at school about finances, about investment, about running, you know?
None.
And you know, and there's a mix of people. I mean, people end up learning from their parents, don't they?
Yeah.
Essentially about their finances. And a lot of people, if you can manage your money in the military and manage it well, then you can pretty much manage anything. Yeah. But for me, my finances were my main focus. You know, I couldn't actually enjoy my job because you know, and a lot of it I created myself. I just didn't earn enough money. Yeah. So, you know, but, you know, I was living in severe lack for all of my military career.
What does someone fairly high up the military get paid? Not right at the top, but fairly high.
Well, I mean, if you're talking, I mean, it's a long time since I've been in, but I mean, I can imagine 30,000.
I mean, 30 grand.
Yeah.
To put my two kids through senior private school will be about gross, if you factor in before tax, 150 grand. Yeah. You know, when you roll it all in. Yeah. And so it's not enough.
I'm probably going shallow there, but the thing is,
even if it's probably 50 grand.
Even if it's 50 grand, yeah. I mean, but generally, I'd say, let's go middle road there, 40 grand. I mean, you know, but the thing is, the military work, you know, they always go on the premise about, well, you don't have to pay for accommodation. Well, you do have to pay for accommodation, but you know, it's very low living costs, etc. That's why they work on it. It's the best pension in the world. All these
property's the best pension in
the world.
That's not
exactly. No, I totally agree. But that's what they sell to the young, you know, the young recruits going in there. You know, it's a guaranteed wage. Blah blah blah. This, that, and the other. But you know, for me, I mean, I tell you what, my time in the military, it was just I was so confined. And that was the whole thing for me. People think, oh, it's a dream job. It's this. I'm the first person to say it. For me, it wasn't a dream job. You know, I was driven by image. Right. The image was being the Special Forces soldier because that would look good. You know what I mean? That's what we do, don't we, as humans? We do it because it's going to look good for everyone else looking on.
Yeah.
And really, when I got there, I realised that wasn't my purpose at all.
Well, that question you asked, I'm going to ask that. I love learning from people, and I love getting little bits. I'm going to regularly ask myself, if no one else existed on the planet, what decision would I make? Because I think that is a really powerful question. I'd still buy £1,000 Louboutin shoes, I would, but at least it would be for me and not for impressing other people.
Yeah.
But such a good question.
Yeah, I think it is, and even in the moment,
Yes.
when you're making very big decisions, what would I do if there was no one else on this planet right now?
What do you do to get motivated?
I stay focused, and I stay energized, and I keep moving every day. Exercise and health for me is one of my biggest, one of my main focuses. And I think for me, when people brush that kind of stuff aside, I think that's absolutely crazy. So really, for me, it's all about health and fitness, and that is keeping moving. I want to make sure, especially as you get older as well, people tend to end up getting, ill health, problems just through bad management.
One of my friends says, movement is medicine.
Absolutely. And people don't understand as well is your food is your mood. You know what I mean? It's what you eat that creates what's up here. So if you're going down and smashing, it's like putting diesel in a Porsche, It's not going to work. People are more invested in putting good fuel in the car than they are in their own bodies.
That's another one for TikTok. I love it. Okay. What's your favourite movie about the SAS? It's a shit question, but we put it in anyway.
I don't know any.
No?
None spring to mind.
There you go.
I'll tell you what. No, let's go back to that, because Lewis Collins, the Iranian embassy, because I love how absolute bullshit it is. As in some of the skills and that, it just makes me laugh. Yeah. So that for me is my favourite film about the military. Again, for me, I mean, people think because I've been in the military at the top of my game that I'm this kind of mental, I've got all camouflage, little suits and everything. And, I'm not interested in the military, to be quite honest. It's something I did a long time back. And, I'm not that interested in it.
Yeah, fair enough. That's all good. Do you have a 30-second or less trick people can practice to increase their mental strength?
Oh, that's a very good question. If you're worried about a situation, then write everything down you're worried about. Then cross out the things you can't control and deal with the things you can.
You are you're getting a TikTok erection here, aren't you, with all of this? Rob's our TikTok guy. It's so good. What's the second scariest thing that's ever happened to you?
You know what? The second scariest thing is I've had 2 events in my life that were outside of the military, outside of the special forces. And the second event that was the scariest is as a civilian being attacked by the militia, heavily outnumbered, at 140 kilometers an hour on the road to Baghdad. It was hideous and something that I would not want to go through again.
What happened?
Well, we were escorting a load of VIPs back from Jordan, and on the road on the way back, our convoy got attacked. So we had vehicles coming up the back. I was sat in the front seat with an MP5 Kurtz little machine gun, body armour on, shirt over the top. They had no idea who we were. And it was when the vehicle was sat behind us, right on the bumper, that then the AK-47s came out and bullets started flying. And four AK-47s firing at the same time when you're on the wrong end is a crescendo from hell. And it was dealing with that situation in that moment, which happened in seconds. So I pulled the vehicle into the next lane.
Oh, you were driving?
I was driving, yeah. Allowed them to come up. We had the central reservation on that side. We had another one of our vehicles in front. And then I'd pulled my vehicle out here. We trapped them. We boxed them in. They fell for the trap. And it was in that moment that I picked up the MP5 Kurtz and shot through my closed window at 140 k's an hour into the vehicle, just as he was bringing his AK-47 onto my head. Shit. And it was all that, and it happening so fast.
You took them all out then?
Well, I mean, you know, I always say this, people, everyone says to ex-special forces, how many people have you killed?
Yeah.
If I probably told anyone that number, they'd be disappointed. And I don't know if we killed them that day or no. We got shots on target, whether they died or not, I don't know. I'd like to think they didn't die.
Yeah.
But, you know, it certainly resolved that situation in that moment. But, you know, it was another interesting moment for me because it was that moment when you triage the situation, you know, and that is... in that moment we start fearing about all things we can't control, triage it. What really mattered in that moment? Him pointing a gun at me, deal with that.
Yeah.
And the rest flowed then.
Wow. I got goosebumps then. And I don't know if it's the Costa coffee or the story. It's probably a bit of both.
We whacked the pre-workout in the
Yeah. What's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to you?
The weirdest thing was when we attacked a boat. Well, if we're talking, I'll tell you what, let's go on the military. And it was one of my first jobs in the SBS, and we did a lot of sort of counter narcotics work. And it was an awesome job, out at night on a helicopter, hitting this ship out at sea, rough seas, the ship's like going mental, you know, on the waves, and we're having to come down this fast rope onto, you know, you're not attached on a fast rope, it's just a rope and you control it so you've got all your weapons, everything hanging off you, your stun grenade, you know, your flash crash grenades and all that kind of stuff. And the ship's doing this and I'm having to time it so that you hit it on the pendulum, you know, and you know, with the grip of your hand. Anyway, got onto the ship. And it was hilarious because as you're coming into target, you put down your balaclava, okay, and you get finally ready, make sure everything's good to go on your 2 minutes in, and that's done all in the dark. So then you hit the ship, got on board. We went straight to our objective, bust open the door, and it hit us, bang, hit us. The smell of ganja.
Really?
And the smell was just like. They'd been locked up in this, you know, we didn't know it was in there. We thought there was enemy in there. So we went straight through and it was the hole where they were keeping all the drugs. Yeah. Bang, hit us straight away. And we got in there, we're trying to crawl, there's another door on the other side. So we're crawling over these massive blocks of ganja, all in black. We're all in black. And then suddenly one of the lads starts laughing. I'm like, but then the our sergeant, he'd come down and he'd probably heard us laughing. He was coming through as well, and he's like that. He'd come through into the same room, and he's like, right lads, stop being fucking professional. And we turned around and looked at him. He put his balaclava on, and obviously didn't wear it. His nose was sticking through the eyepiece. He had one eye half visible, and we were just fucking in bits, just like. And we had to really pull ourselves together to take that ship down that day. That was probably one of the weirdest.
Piers Morgan called you a kale-munching quinoa guzzler after discovering you were vegan. Did you respond to that? Did you even know that?
I did know that. I didn't respond, but I was very, very... I was on the edge of going into attack mode then.
And why didn't you?
Because I think it takes a bigger man to walk away from stuff like that. And I wasn't vegan at the time anyway. So.
Yeah.
But, you know, for a person that's been responsible for the stuff that he's been responsible for, you know, releasing pictures and all that kind of stuff for lads, soldiers overseas, I'm definitely the better man than that.
Do you think he was riling you up on purpose?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely riling me up. Or was it even him? So.
Yeah.
But anyway, listen, everyone's entitled to their own opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the best advice you ever received?
The best advice I ever received was stop doing things for other people, as in stop trying to create the person you are to please everyone else.
I'm looking at all the cameras. That is the best advice. There's a book I read called The Courage to be Disliked, which is
I've seen that recently. Yeah.
And it covers Adlerian psychology and various things, but the theory is that ultimate freedom is having the courage to be disliked, therefore not living your life based on what you think other people think of you.
Yeah.
And I would definitely put that up there.
Yeah, I mean, that goes back into that, you know, ayahuasca journey. You know, I just saw that person. When I saw it in that vision, it was this almost like, we're putting the clothes on this mannequin, you know, we're building this fucking picture of perfection. Stop faking perfection. Yeah. You know, you're only fooling yourself.
Yeah. It's funny, I'm going to express something that I felt. because obviously we've got to know each other, and you showed me that awesome military vehicle that you've just bought. And I had this overwhelming sensation to show you all the cars I have, which would have been my ego manifesting.
Yeah.
Actually, not ego as in brag,
Yeah.
ego as in I hope Ollie values me. I hope Ollie thinks I'm good enough, legitimate guy to come and spend time with him. Does he know what I've built and who I am?
Yeah.
He probably doesn't. And then I just thought, no, I don't need to show him that.
Yeah.
I am me. And I went and did some chin-ups on your bar.
Can I see him?
Yeah, oh, yeah, you could see the cars.
But that's the thing. You know what? That is the thing, though. It's like a lot of it. Some people think when I start telling them about the cars, they think, "Oh, you're trying to get one up now, aren't you?" And
No, I didn't think that.
Yeah, but you're not, and I'm not. And I'm like, no, I'm just showing you. Because
Yeah.
in some respects, I think it's quite ridiculous that I've
Yeah.
got, you know, a lot of motorbikes, but I don't look at it as if. And that's where you ask yourself that question. You know, you ask yourself the question. Would I be doing this if I was the only person on the planet?
You probably still would buy that if you're the only person.
Yeah, no, I would. I mean, a lot of them are ready for Armageddon anyway,
Yeah.
so we're already, you know what I mean? But everything, you know, everything I've got out there is designed for purpose, not for Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, it's and that's how your mindset should be, shouldn't it? You know,
Designed for purpose, not for Instagram. That's another one. Yeah?
Yeah.
Your pants are moving. Look at that. Great. What's the worst advice you ever received?
The worst advice I ever received: do as you're told. Do as you're told is probably the worst advice I've ever received, because I don't believe anyone should do as they're told. You know, you have to analyse the situation. If it makes sense to you, then do it. But always doing things on your own terms, not someone else's.
I really like that. Is there one thing that's wrong with the world that you'd like to change?
Yeah, there is one thing in the world I'd love to change, and that is the pandemic. The real pandemic. That's greed. You know, greed is the real problem that's out there. And if we controlled that, I think problems would disappear overnight.
How do we control greed?
Where do we start? Because everything's been engineered about creating wealth. You know, this is another point I actually wanted to talk to you about, because there's two sides to this. You know, I'm a big believer in the fact that people should try and create something that means something to them. And then a lot of the times that doesn't necessarily mean wealth. You know, there's so much information out there on Instagram, on social media about, you know, millionaire mentor or whatever it is. Here's me in a Rolls, which they probably hired for the day. You know, here's me, you know, some Russian chick inside a jet. You know, I'm just on my way. It's not. They've paid to go and have that picture taken. And I think it's unhealthy. You know, happy. I know this is cliche. Happiness, it's money doesn't make you happy. Money does one thing for me, and that is creates freedom. It creates experience. You know what I mean? But I just think a lot of people are chasing the dollar when they should be investing in themselves first. You know what I mean? And they put the dollar in front of themselves. So, and that all comes down to greed. Everything's about money, 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 money. I just think that is the biggest pandemic in the world.
We should put that clip on the Money podcast that we have. Right after where I say money does make you happy. Let's put it there.
But money does make you happy. If you know, again, you know, I talk about control and stuff here. I tell you what, I left the military with no money whatsoever. You know, I hadn't earned any money, and I was scrabbling around, you know, trying to make some more money outside of work and everything, just to pay for my social life. And it was ridiculous. And then I came out, one of the main reasons that I came out was because of money. It was all money. And then I came out, then I went over to Iraq, where I was earning massive, for me at that time, 2003, £13,000 a month tax-free. I mean, even today, that is a great amount of money to be earning. For me, that was massive. I was still poor. I was still poor because this was
Because you don't know how to manage it.
Yeah, I didn't know how to manage it. And also, I still had the mindset of lack. And my motivation was money. I was doing a job that was money-focused, money, 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 and it wasn't a passion for doing the job. My world changed when I started a business that was focused on a mission statement of helping other people, and the money became a byproduct. Doesn't stop the money from flowing.
Yeah. You probably make more.
Yeah, well, it just means you're not money's bitch. It's the other way around. It's a tool for you.
If there was one person you'd love to watch, listen to on the Disruptive Entrepreneur Show, we're on all channels now. We used to be just podcast, And we actually hadn't had the YouTube that long when we came to meet you last time. Who would you, one person you'd love to watch?
I'd love to watch, and I have followed him through my tough times and my good times, and that's Bob Proctor. I just think he is the godfather, as far as I'm concerned, of personal development. What I love about Bob Proctor is the fact that he's not trying to state that he's invented this stuff. He's quite happy and quite comfortable stating he is reframing it.
Yeah.
He's keeping that content alive. And I just think, he picks up, and people don't understand how much frequency is involved in our evolution, and our well-being and everything. And he is one person that is on it when it comes to frequency, vibration, everything. So Bob Proctor.
Okay, cool. We can definitely make that happen. I know we can. He was on The
Great.
Secret, wasn't he? We've had most of The Secret guys.
Yeah.
We had Gio Vitale recently. He was great, wasn't he? Yeah, he was great. I'm just going to get that sorted out. This show, as it evolves, we call it the Disruptive Entrepreneur at the moment, but it evolves. It's on all channels. What does the word disruptive mean to you?
Nonconformist. Disruptive is a great word for me because I think we should all be disruptive. And that for me is about looking, everyone's telling you to go that way and that's where the crowd are going, go the other way. Look what's the other way. So disruptive really means going against the system. And if you want to perform, don't conform.
This is just gold. This is platinum. This is diamond. Love it. Right, Ollie, where can we find you and follow you? What books are the ones we should grab of yours first? What socials are you mainly on?
Yeah, I think really the main focus, or the main, you can get me on, I should say, on my Instagram channel, Ollie.Ollerton. That's the main place to get me. The best book I would say to anyone, which is all about reprogramming your self-positivity, is Battle Ready.
Great. Let's get this out to the masses then. Ollie, thanks a lot.
Brilliant,
that was a lot of fun.
Mega enjoyed that. I'm so glad we did
Cheers.
that, because my little negative brain yesterday was going, oh, don't do it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
really
Thanks for letting us up to your place.
No, thank you for coming on.